Hey guys, thanks for joining, and in this tutorial we will be looking how to create this 3D product that has different kinds of material variants. And we will be first creating everything in Blender. We will look into how we can create variants, how we can assign materials to those variants. Then we will export the model to a GLB file, import it into Shopify, and then we will proceed with 3D bits. And in 3D bits, we will be linking the material variants to various Shopify product options. And yeah, we will be using some app for that. And so let's get started. Here we have Blender open, right? And I will just import the GLB file of the car that you've just seen in the video. Let's do it like this. So import, and I have it here. So I'll just double click it. And you see that I've now imported the car model in Blender. So it's positioned a little bit off the center. So I'll just select the hierarchy and I'll move it a little bit more to the center so that it rotates a little bit nicer in the scene. What we have now is this model, but we want to look how its materials look like. And here they are. It looks quite nice. For this tutorial, I want to also hide this front window, and I'll just do it here. So now we see some interior details. So another thing that we want to check before we begin is if we have the add-on called KHR material extensions enabled, and in general that everything is set up for GLTF export. And we do that here by going into preferences, and in the add-ons section you need to have this GLTF2 format enabled. And of course here we will be using material variants, so it's important to check that these checkboxes are enabled. And if everything's fine, then we can proceed and close these preferences. Now to check what kind of material variants we already have in the model, we have to click this small arrow here. It was really hard to find for me in the very beginning, but if you click it, you'll see here this GLTF variants section. And what we can do is we can click on another variant and say display the variant. And you'll see that the colors change and also the materials change. So if I click on yet another variant, you'll see that we have this nice looking black material applied on the car. And notice that also the seat materials change. So each variant is linked to a different set of materials applied on different sort of meshes. And what we will do in this tutorial, or what I will do, I'm just going to create a new material variant, and we will be creating few new materials for that. I'll apply that to the model, we will export it, and we'll be done with it. Full disclosure, I'm not a huge Blender expert. You know, if you know somehow how to do things better, be my guest. But what I will do is I will just create a new variant. So I'll click this button here, and I'll call it Blue Candy. So I'll derive this variant from Carmine Candy basically, and I'll just be using a different color. You will also notice that there are some details that might not be affected by the variant. I'm not going to apply everything here for this blue color. So if I skip something, it's just not really relevant for the tutorial. What's really important is that we have these variants and that we can create them and link them to materials, and that at the end we can use those variants in 3D Bits app in Shopify as a product. So let's get started. So now I have this blue candy here, and I'll move my head towards the left side here because it's just gonna be giving me more space here on the right. What I will do now is I will just hit this door, and I'll go to the material settings, and I see here that we have Paint 1 Carmine enabled. And what I want to do is I want to duplicate this material and say that I want to have Paint 2, and I'll call it blue, and I'll change the color to blue now. Basically what I did now is I've created a new material, I renamed it, I applied the blue color to it. And also another thing that I will do immediately is I'll say add a new variant slot, and yeah, that's fine. I think that it just has to be blue candy here. And now if I change to display this variant, it's red. If I enable this variant, it's blue. So what I want to do now is I want to select all the red materials here and then apply this material to everything. So let's do that. I'll just use this linked option here. So I'll select everything. Then I'll select this one with Shift and mouse left. So now I will click Ctrl L and I'll link the materials to everything. So this works fine, but I couldn't really find a good way to assign the variants in a global order. So I'll just say that I want to add a new variant to slot, add a new variant to this, then what we have here as well. So everything that's sort of looking blue, these doors as well. And let's hope I don't miss something. But yeah, this looks okay, I think. Now let's try to switch between the variants and let's see if that works correctly. Yeah, so far so good. So yeah, this just gets applied on the color. Oh yeah, I see the mirrors are still red, and let's change that. So let's select it, go into materials, paint to blue, and add a new variant slot. Let's click that, change the material, and add a new variant slot. So now if I display this variant, everything turns red, and if I display blue, everything turns blue. So interior is still red. Let's change that too. Let's click this, and let's also duplicate this material. So interior 4 and then blue. It doesn't really matter how you name those materials. If you just can't understand what you're doing, that's fine. So now I'll make it blue like this. I will again click on this object, then I'll say select linked by material. Then I shift select this one. Then I'll do Ctrl L and link materials. And now I'll go one by one as well. So let's do it here. Add a new variant slot to this as well. Yeah, that can take a while, I guess. But the most important thing is to just add them. And you may notice later on that, yeah, maybe not everything changes that should change during the variant application. And that can be due to the fact that I just missed something in this manual process. But yeah, if you're a professional Blender expert, you know, probably you will do a better job in this than I am. And yeah, I want to just show you guys the principle of how this works. So now, yeah, let's see if everything looks okay. Let's change the variants. So I'm shifting now between the red and the blue, and it seems to work. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result. You know, there will be things like this roof, for example. So if I display this variant, you know, it turns like this, and if I display now the blue variant, it stays on this torch graphite. So you should have applied the material also to the roof. But yeah, I'm not going to play too much here in the Blender. You get the point, I think, on how to do these things. So let's leave it like this. And I will just now enable the front window. And the last thing that we will be doing with this model now is we will be exporting it into GLTF file format. So I'll bring my head down here. Yeah, of course, we could just save the model too, but for now, let's select everything here. File, export, and we will be exporting into this catalog of tutorial. So I'll be using car ready model. I will not be exporting any animations, shape keys or skinning. I will enable compression, and also I will include selected objects. So we will be using compression just to save some time. You could compress also in Khronos Compressor, the web tool that I highly recommend. But Blender does a great job of compression too, so if you work with Blender, that's also fine, if you know what you're doing especially. So let's now hit export to GLTF2. Hey, sorry to interrupt. In case you don't know me, I'm Matas, the founder of BitByBit. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I also want to offer you a small deal. Because you're watching this video, I assume that you're using BitByBit platform too. Here's the promo code that will give you a small discount to our silver and gold plans. With these plans, you gain access to our cloud infrastructure, 3D configurators, and other advanced features. Your subscription also helps me develop the content, such as this video that you're watching right now. It also helps me develop BitByBit platform and keep majority of its features free and open source to everyone. Your support means a lot to me. I hope you'll consider the offer, and let's continue with the video. So the Blender part is over. Congratulations. Now we enter into Shopify mode. And please just ignore all of these files that we have already in this store that I use also for the tutorial. Basically, we will be using some of the assets from here, like images, but I will first upload the model that we've just created, and let's do that. So I'll select this car ready, and it will upload. So you see it here, it uploaded, it's 4.11 megabytes, so it's not too much, right? This is the nice thing about these material variants, is that whatever materials you create, they are contained in one GLB file. So when you switch those materials, you don't need to just switch into a different geometry. You just switch the material itself, you apply it on geometry that is loaded once. There are ways in 3D Bits how you can import several models and switch between those models, but then you actually each time need to import 4.11 megabytes, for example, of geometry. So that's not efficient. This is why Khronos materials variants are really efficient and nice to use. We can open this model also in Shopify to look how it looks like, and it's looking really great, I think. But here you cannot really change between the variants and things like that. So if you just want to embed 3D models, you can use Shopify too. What I will do now is I will go into products and I will create a new product for this tutorial. So we already have one product that is using this scene that we saw in the very beginning, but I just want to show you guys how to do it from scratch mostly. So let's create a new product. Let's make sure that it's in draft mode when we experiment. Tutorial supercar. Now we will hit save, and I will also show you guys how to create a new template based on default product that will include BITBYBIT viewer itself. So we will configure it as well. I will go into products. I say that we want to create a new template here. I'll call it viewer tutorial, and it will be based on default product. I'll just make myself a little bit smaller maybe to see these buttons. Okay, so now we've created a new template. It's called viewer tutorial, and in the product information I will remove this runner. If you do this branching from default templates, you probably won't have this runner. I added it probably some time ago, but now I will just say that I want to add the block, and I want to add it from the apps section, and I will use this BitByBit viewer block. So let's hit enter. So now we have all these sections here. Let's just hit save for this template. Now that we've added the BitByBit viewer, let's get back into the tutorial project. Let's refresh it so that we get this template available to us. Let's see. Yeah, this is it. Viewer tutorial, right? Let's hit save. And now if I hit this view template, then it will also show me a preview of this project or product. So let's enable the product information, and you will see that we have tutorial supercar, and we have at the end of this our 3D scene of BITBYBIT viewer. And if we click on it, you'll see that it gets highlighted. And now we will go through these BITBYBIT viewer settings to set everything up correctly. So I'll move myself here to the left, and let's begin. So this is okay, this is correct. Actually, when new versions of our runner are released, you have to follow them and update this if you want to. If not, just stay on the version that you get when you install the app. We don't change this because we think, if your product configurators work, they should stay on the same version and work further, as long as you yourself decide to update this version of the runner, which will update the game engine, for example, that we have embedded into the viewer. So now let's go into the other settings. The full screen button is this button that we want to show indeed. We won't need model URL now, but we can connect it to dynamic source. And let's go here. Let's link it to 3dbits model URL metafield. So those metafields are quite important. When you install 3dbits, you can create them automatically. And these are all the metafields that are relevant to us. These are product metafields basically that we've created during installation of 3dbits app. But now I will just link them to these settings so that each product would be able to have unique values. So let's continue and say that we want to link Scene JSON configuration, which will be very important for us with 3dbits scene configuration like that. So camera position won't be relevant for us. Target will also not be relevant, but we can also link those with the correct metafields. So camera position, camera target, background color. Let's link with background color. So we don't really need to show the spinner for this. We will be using our custom loader. We do want to receive input names as variants, so let's use this option. We will just use standard inputs because that's enough for us. We just collect all kinds of inputs, and if you want more information, just read this explanation of how this works. Let's enable debug mode for now. And yeah, you will see this black, top view here, which will show some information that will be relevant to us. We want to try and prepend this product to the image. Let's leave this off for now. Later on, I'll show you why this option is necessary for us and what it does. So let's hit save now. We have things configured that we wanted to configure. So what I will do now, I will just select existing image for this product. I will use this one, car red. Let's hit done. And you see that now I have this as our main media. Let's hit save. Let's close this template editing mode and this one. And now let's open the template again. So now you see that our options are on the right and the image is on the left. And basically what we want to do is we want to go into this BITBYBIT viewer settings. And now we will see what these options are doing. So let's try and prepend this 3D canvas onto the image. So now you see that the canvas moved here to the left and the image is now on the bottom. If you don't want to keep this image, you can also say that let's remove the children before we prepend. So now you're left just with the 3D canvas basically. And you use this magical selector to identify the place on your website where to put this 3D canvas. We automated it for the default Shopify theme, but your theme might be different, so you might need to use a different query string. And if you don't understand what that is, maybe you can consult some developer or let me know, ask me how to identify it. I will check your web shop and we'll try to help, right? The problem is that Shopify doesn't really have blocks here on the left. You see that here we have all the theme app extension blocks nicely positioned. So basically what it means that if I move this one, up, it will just move this BITBYBIT viewer part higher, but there's nothing that allows me to embed it here on the left. So that's why these kinds of tricks are necessary. Maybe in the future Shopify will change this behavior, but for now it is what it is. So let's continue with the tutorial. Let's hit save now. So now we are done with this part, and let's move on into a 3D-Bits app. And in here, what we want to open is this viewer editor. So this is our no-code solution for defining 3D configurations of the scenes and products. And basically what we will do is we will add the model. We will go into the content where we uploaded our model, right? Let's go into the files. Let's hit this copy link button, and we will use this link here in the model URL. So let's link it. Let's use the name car, and let's hit update. So this is very fast, right? You will see that we load the model now into this 3D scene. There is no light in here, so it doesn't look very good, but let's make sure to change that. Let's go here. First thing we will do, we will add the SkyBox. And for a nice SkyBox, we can just use city for now. I will hit update. So this looks better already, right? This car. And also another thing that I want to change is the directional light. Let's add one with intensity of 1. So every time you change something, and you want to look how your scene will look like when you start, that's what you need to do. You just hit this update button. And what I will do now, I will make the model a little bit bigger because it looks a little too small. So let's do it like this. Let's make it 10, 10, 10. And it will now be quite large, right? You see that the camera is quite close to the model. Let's go into this mode of the scene, and let's add the camera configuration. So let's do that. And here I want to change a little bit how far the camera is from the object. I think position can be like 14 maybe, and 16. And the target should be a little bit higher, so maybe 3. Let's hit update and let's look how that appears now. I think it could still be a little bit further away, so maybe 26 and 26, update. You need to play around with these numbers basically to find a good location for your initial position. I think it's quite okay, but maybe let's move even further. So 34, 34, and 24, update. Yeah, this looks better, I think. So now we have this car in our environment. It has this SkyBox now enabled. If you want to use different SkyBox, you can do that quite easily. You can say here that you want to use custom SkyBox, and you just need to copy paste the URL from somewhere, like PolyHaven, for example. PolyHaven is a nice website that contains a lot of HDRIs for the environment. And here you can have skies. And if you just click one, you can just say copy link, and then go back and use that in the URL here. Hit update, and you will see a different environment. So now you see that the car is in a different sort of world, right? So the lighting and everything changes. But yeah, for us, I think the initial SkyBox of the city looked quite nice. So let's keep it like this. And now you see that, yeah, the model looks perfect. Let's keep it like that. What you can also do is hide the SkyBox if you want to have, the background color that is default. So this is now, white background, but the object is still affected by the environment lighting that was caused by the city SkyBox. So let's just make it maybe visible for this tutorial. It looks quite nice. I like it. Okay, but where are the variants now? It's not really visible, right? So to find the variants, what you need to do is actually parse the GLTF file. By default, we don't parse it. We just load it and display it in the scene. we are not really interested, in all kinds of meshes that are inside this model. And we're not really interested in material variants. Usually you maybe just want to load few models and display them as variants by switching them. In this case, it's more complex, and we do want to parse this GLB and GLTF file. So let's hit this button. This is also one of the recent additions to the 3D Bits app. So let's do that. And you will see that now we have our variants here. You see that there are no rules configured to enable these variants, and we will be configuring these rules really soon. But here you also can see the structure of this whole model. So we have all the parts, all the meshes, and all of these meshes can also have their own rules that show them or hide them. So basically this is quite flexible, but all of this information, if you don't assign the variants, when we export, we will choose to ignore it, because we just want to use material variants in this tutorial. So let's configure some rules and see how this affects the 3D Bits environment here in the viewer editor. So let's add the first rule. And what I will do is I will just use this simple matches. So all must be true, because this is really simple to enable these variants, right? You just want to click on some button somewhere, probably in the Shopify store, and you want to enable it. So we don't need to use complex logic like here, where we have various kinds of conditions. So let's say you want to enable your material variant when the size is bigger than something. Then you would use these kinds of advanced logic editors. But in this case, let's just use the simple matches. And here we will say that we have a match of variant, and we will call it Carmine Candy. So it's a little bit strange maybe for you to understand why are we using the same information that we already have. But this is basically a map that will map your Shopify UI with the 3D model variants. And this is not exactly the same thing, because you could have more complex logic that enables that material variant. We will not see that in this tutorial, but trust me, it needs to be done like this. And so I will make myself a little bit smaller again, just to give more space here. So I'll hit save now for this, and you see that it has one simple rule now, this variant. Let's do this again here. So variant and Perly Swirly, save. Again, simple match variant. I will just copy paste it from here, save, and here I will also do it, and we'll say variant, and it's gonna be called Blue Candy. Let's hit save. Now if I hit update, you will see that we have our variants here on the top, and if I hit them, I'm going to switch between these variants, and we even have this nice looking blue model as well. So I really enjoy this, looks great. I think it's time to save our project. So let's hit this download button, and you will see here that we have a bit of a dialogue. Usually you don't see it, but because we parse the GLTF, now the 3D Bits app is asking you to choose how do you want to export this whole file. So we're offered to choose between export full structure or export variants only. So variants only means that it will skip all kinds of information that is not relevant for this scene, and it's a lighter version. And this one will export full structure. Because we're now saving everything, we parsed it, we want to keep maybe all the information. So let's choose this variant, export full structure. So now we download that to our downloads folder, and next time we want to continue with this project, we can upload it through this button, select it, and you will see then all the properties being filled from that file. So now another thing that I will do is I will just copy this project to clipboard. Let's copy it. And here what I will do is I will just export variants only. That will only export these material options, and nothing from this structure. Basically, this will be ignored. If I would configure some variant on this, for example, then that information would also get exported. This is quite relevant because, we copy paste this code into the meta field of the product. So let's go into the product, tutorial supercar, and we will paste it here into the scene config. So if we copy a huge, JSON, then it will not fit this field. And then we need to actually export the JSON as a file and use URL in here to load it. And this is how 3D-bits work as of this tutorial. We will be probably changing this to make it more convenient later, but for now, this is how it functions. So let's hit save. And now the magic should already happen, or parts of the magic. We can preview this product. And you see that, the 3D model got loaded. It's in here. We can rotate and look how everything works. So one thing that I will do, I will go into this template. And by the way, you see here also that we have our 3D model now. I will use a different color scheme for this product page. Let's use this dark mode. Looks much better, I think. And you see that we still have this loading indicator that is white in the very beginning. So let's change that. Let's go into the scene here and loading settings here. So let's add those. And let's just use the color black for start. We will not use any logo in the beginning. And let's hit update. So now you see that everything turns black when it's loading, and then it turns into this nice looking scene when it's done. So let's copy this again, export variants only, go into the product, paste it here, save it, and preview it again. So this looks much better. Now what you see here are some inputs already that change when you click on buttons. So +2, you see that the quantity is now 3, and it matches what's inside this input. And this is how 3D-bits transmits information and looks for the variants inside your Shopify page. So currently we have this 3D model, right? But we don't have the way to switch between the variants of it. There are quite a few ways how to do that, and I will first show you the most simple one, and it will be using basically Shopify's variant system. So let's go here, let's add variants here, and I will say that we have a variant called variant, and I will just open this model so that we understand it better. And basically here we gave the name of the material, but this could be anything. We can, for clarity's sake, I will just even name it red. I will name this light gray. I will name it dark gray. And I will name this blue. So we don't confuse the variants in here with the variants that we've imported from the GLTF file itself. So let's hit update now. Let's download that again in full structure to save the file. And you see now that we have red, blue, and they still switch the materials. So this is quite important to realize. These variants, these are Shopify variants, basically. Let's go back into here. Let's see variant red, variant light gray, variant dark gray, and variant blue. These are the names that we just gave our variants. Here we can define all kinds of prices. So let's say that this is an expensive car and it's 300,000, 320,000. Then let's add 340,000 and 50,000 for the blue. Let's hit save. Let's also say that we have, something in the stock like this. Because we've updated this model here, let's copy our new information into the meta field here. Let's hit save. And now if I preview this product, let's look into it. You'll see that we have our variants here. And if I click them, then the materials change. So this is quite nice. And it's pretty simple, right? So what happens is basically that here we get the variant from Shopify and it's blue. When we click red, we get variant red, light gray, and everything just sort of continues to work, right? So this is all really nice. I think what's important to understand is that this also works with third-party apps. And for this tutorial, I decided to also show you guys how to use YMQ Options, because you can customize way more things with their app, like custom pricing, different kinds of logic to create 2D UI systems. And I know that many people use this app, so this might be relevant to you as well if you're using it. And let's do that. Let's go into, this app here. Let's go open YMQ Options. If you don't have it, you need to install it. I will not go through that process. But now let's go into this option part. Let's search product to add. And let's go here. I will see that I want to add options to this tutorial supercar. Let's hit selected. And now it does show that there's already a variant of Shopify here. I will leave it for now, but I will delete it later. First, let's add the option. Let's say that we want to use not the image dropdown, but the image swatch. Option name will be also variant, right? Let's say that we want to option value here is red, and let's use an image of the red car. Let's say that this is default option, and we now see a nice looking image here, right? So this is also what you saw in the beginning of the tutorial. Let's add another option here. Let's call it blue. Let's add the image blue. And let's also add another. Let's call it light gray. And let's add light gray image. Now yet another one, dark gray. And let's add dark gray image. So here the YMQ options work a little bit different from Shopify variants. Here you need to add additional price that will be added to your product. So maybe red will add, 10,000 euros, this one 20, this one 30, and this one 40. Doesn't really matter. But if you hit save now, this is done basically. Let's go into a product here and let's remove these default variants. So I'll just delete everything here. Delete. Save product. And now if I preview it, you will see that now I have here variant, and here I have the buttons that are nice looking images. So really enjoy how this is turning out. The only thing that you need to notice is that this YMQ Options app adds additional number here to our name, and we didn't really need to add it. It's changing every time. We just used variant, and as long as 3D-Bits app finds something called variant in this list, it will work fine. You need to make sure that you don't have, two variants that, then the app cannot really decide which one to pick. But in general, it will just find the variant and will work as expected. So this is now looking great. It's not yet rotating as we had in our tutorial, but we can change that here. If we go into this model, let's go back into the scene here. So we have these global animated rotations, and let's just add 10 degrees per second. Let's hit update, and you will see that the car is now rotating nicely. Let's copy this, export variants only, go here, paste it into the scene config, save, go into the preview, and now it's rotating. So I've made this a little bit larger than its default. We're done with the configuration. You can decide what you do with this background. I will leave it like this. We showed you how to remove it if you want to. I will also disable the debug mode so that we don't see this anymore. But let's do it here. Let's go here into the viewer template. Let's find the product information, product viewer, and let's disable the debug mode. So now we just hit save and everything adapts. And if you go here and you click preview, you will see a nice looking 3D product with all the variants that we've set up. And yeah, for your shop, you might have different kinds of setups, different kinds of apps maybe that you use for making prices, custom prices, but 3D-Bits generally works with all of them. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. You've learned how to create variants in Blender, how to use 3D-Bits app to map those to your Shopify stores, and also at the end how to create the product, configure the template, add BITBYBIT viewer, theme app extension blocks. A lot has been touched upon here in this tutorial. And yeah, at the end, the result is quite nice, I think. These 3D views allow your customers to experience the products in a new dimension, right? It's not only the image, they can really go into this view and look inside the car. Experience it just way better, I think. So yeah, this is it, and let's see each other in the next tutorials. Cheers, guys.